Okay, so are we good to go, Ellen?
We are now live.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for today on women in Middle East construction. It's the 31st of March, so the end of a month of celebration and recognition of women achievements and issues all over the world. So it's timely for us to also discuss and bring in issues and contributions and share experiences of women in the Middle East construction. So welcome everyone. We are pleased to have you all here. Our webinar today is presented by the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society. We are Aegis, in short, part of Heriot-Watt University, and this is the part of the school that is based in Dubai campus. The webinar is also presented by the Center of Excellence in Smart Construction, which is part of the school. The school is historically been involved with the built environment, but it has later been renamed the School of Energy, Geoscience, Infrastructure and Society because it has grown to span a number of disciplines in addition to the built environment. So if we look at our programs in Dubai, we have programs that span the spectrum of built environment disciplines such as architecture, civil engineering, architectural engineering and construction management, in addition to petroleum engineering. So these programs are delivered both at undergraduate level and at postgraduate level. We also have a PhD and engineering doctorate program, again spanning all these disciplines. With us is also the Center of Excellence in Smart Construction, and if you can go back to the previous slide, please, Elaine. The previous, yeah. So the Center of Excellence in Smart Construction is part of the school, and the Center of Excellence is a partnership really between academia, industry, and government, bringing in innovations in the areas of smart construction, but also expanding to include a number of themes that the center deals with, such as performance and productivity, sustainability, well-being, in addition to dealing with communities. So it's a collaboration between industry and academia to bring in and resolve the most recent and trends and issues that are related to construction. Today's webinar, and if you can, yes, thank you. Today's webinar is focused on women in the construction industry. We are pleased to have a number of renowned speakers, very successful in the field of construction, spanning the spectrum of disciplines involved with the built environment, with a wealth of experience to share with us, focusing on women in the Middle East construction industry in particular. So if I may present the webinar program. So we have a number of panels. Our first panel will focus on careers for women in construction, and we have a number of speakers. My name is Dr. Hajar, and I look after the construction management and surveying programs in the school. I'm based in Dubai campus, and I will be moderating this session. With us as well, we are delighted to have Aurelia Kisaf is a membership development officer with the Institute of Civil Engineers, bringing forward the role of professional bodies. ICE, of course, is a well-known professional body dealing with civil engineering. Aurelia has a wealth of experience in construction. She has over 35 years of experience as a civil engineer in a number of roles, spanning the technical aspects, production aspects, management aspects of construction. And she's now focusing on the supporting women and dealing with membership and helping others to progress their career by becoming chartered and becoming members and senior members of the Institution of Civil Engineers. We have other speakers. We have Hiba Ahmed, who has an MSc in construction management. She's currently a sustainability consultant with Alpen, and she also has a interest on the built environment in general, but focused mainly on the sustainability aspects, and this is her role. We have Dr. Muna Abdelghaffar, is a geotechnical engineer with Jacobs. Dr. Muna also has significant experience in construction, starting with working in the UK and then moving to the Middle East, to the UAE. She is specialized in geotechnical engineering, and she has a wealth of experience in that sector in a number of infrastructure and civil engineering projects. We also have Sumaya Dabbagh, who is the principal in the Dabbagh Architects. Sumaya is a CEO, a practitioner of her own consultancy in architecture. She is very passionate about bringing together her own culture and her own input, as well as her background from the West, from her education, to give to the architecture and design her input in that area. So as you can see, we have panelists spanning different roles within the construction industry. So we are looking forward to a discussion on issues related to careers and diversity of careers and the role of women, of course, and the challenges that they face in these areas. Before we start our first presentation from Aurelia, I would just like to advise all our attendees, if you have any questions, you can post them anytime in the Q&A chat, and then they will be presented to the panelists at the end of the panel discussion. So if we should go ahead and start with Aurelia's presentation. Yeah, on the role of professional bodies in supporting women. Aurelia, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Haji. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Yes.
I think it will be all right without a video, because maybe the slides will be presented. So thank you very much for inviting me today, and I'm really, really pleased that I am a part of the invitation. And I really like to support women. As I said to Dr. Haji, my aim is to bring into professional qualification bodies as many women as possible here from the MENA region. Can we start? So this is ICE, Institution of Civil Engineers. It's a global institution since 1818. So 203 years ago, we started up the Institution of Civil Engineers. The Institution of Civil Engineers is an independent professional association for civil engineers, and it's a charity. It's a charitable body of the United Kingdom. As you can see here, we have over 95,000 members in over 150 countries across the world. In the lower corner on the left, this is our headquarters, which is situated in London, very close to the House of Parliament and Big Ben. Next one, please. So who are we and what do we do? We qualify civil engineers. We are specialists in civil engineering knowledge, products, and services. We are the home of civil engineering, and we are the voice of infrastructure. Next, please. What is ICE doing to encourage more women? Just to encourage more women into engineering. Institution of Civil Engineers has collaborated with World Innovation Summit for Education and Science, Engineering and Manufacturing Technology Alliance to launch an apprenticeship training kit aimed in helping educators to encourage girls to take up engineering apprentices. ICE is supporting women in engineering by demonstrating the career and offer, then anything what is in offer, but also encouraging women to come back to engineering when they have taken a career break. So the scheme is called Civil Comeback Scheme. ICE is encouraging women to become role models, supporting the Daily Telegraph, the top 50 women in engineering poll. ICE is a member of the WISE, which enables and energizes people in business, industry, and education to increase the participation, contribution, and success of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Everybody knows about STEM. Our General Director, Nick Bavinstock, is part of the WISE board. I put a link here, so when you receive the presentation, you can just try to see some feature of a number of women engineering. Next, please. So we have 12 members, ICE members, which they were included in the 2020 last year top 50 women poll, which showcases women role models based in the UK. This year, the founder of Women's Engineering Society focused in the top 50 poll of those involved in formulation and delivery of sustainable strategies and solutions, addressing the challenges of the climate emergency, net zero carbon, and delivery of the Sustainable Development Goal. Everybody knows about the 17 United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. ICE members included in the list, you can, just if you are interested to see what they've done, I just listed the names of those 12 members of the institution. The WE50 raises awareness of the skill shortage facing the industry, highlighting the huge discrepancies between the number of men versus women currently in engineering professions. We aim to change perception, encouraging young women to consider engineering as a viable and rewarding career. Next, please. We have a quote from the Director of Membership, Sean Harris. Here he is saying that Women Engineering Society reports only 11% of engineers are female, and just 5% of them, they are professionally qualified. ICE has worked hard to improve the level of female engineering joining the profession and institution. And currently we have a record of 14%. So from 5%, we are just, trying to get as many women in engineering to be professionally qualified. Encouraging the percentage of female engineering in ICE training agreement stands at 21.3%. Perhaps the most encouraging statistic is that we managed to double the female members between 2008 and 2020. We must ensure that doesn't take a further decade to see such growth. Last year, we have 57% of our Quest company sponsored, they were awarded to women. So we are 33% of the technician scholarship. So we will try every way to manage to get as many women engineers professionally qualified. Now, just as in the role models, we have Dorothy Donaldson Buchanan. She was a Scottish civil engineer. In 1927, she passed her exam and she became the first ICE female member. She helped design the Tyne Bridge in Newcastle, which was known as the George V Bridge when it opened in 1928. ICE, the institution, dedicated a room to her name. It's called Dorothy Buchanan. Next, please. Another a good role model is Jan Venable. She is the first female president. She was elected in 2008. She is a fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering, a chartered civil engineer, a member of the Chartered Institution of Water and Environmental Management, with a master's degree in public health engineering and a long involvement in flood risk management, water and water waste engineering, waste management, and water resources issues. And next, please. Rachel Skinner, she is our current president. She is the 156th ICE president, the second female president, and she was elected last year in 2020, and she will, her presidency will last this year until November 2021. She is also the executive director for WSP. She is a former commissioner to Scotland Patron and Women in Transport. She is not even 40 years old. She has three young children, and she has a very good career. So for me, she is a proper model for any woman who is in civil engineering, practicing civil engineering. Next, please. I have here a list. You can take your time and look at them. There are other female engineers and with a lot of work they've done. Contemporary friend, de Brunel, everybody knows about Brunel, Alice Perry, Mary Ferguson, Professor de John Venable, I told you about. So please, you have this presentation, go and check as many information, find out what they are good to be called role models. Next, please. So now we are in the Middle East. This is quite encouraging, to be honest. Numbers we have of women in the ICE Middle East and North Africa. So we have in total, as now, 2,224 members. Now per countries, as you can see, there are around most of the women, they are in Oman. The reason for that, it's actually they are students. So we have, if you look at the red part we have only 4 fellow engineer women. We have 30 professionally qualified members, full members, charter or incorporated engineer members. We have 88 graduate members. And if you can see there, we have waiting for them to come into the world of, market, on the construction market, 305 women students who just, coming into the next years to become engineers and working along with us. So my aim this year, it will be just to try to support as many women which are the graduate one, the 88 a graduate member of the institution, to become full members and to have more females fellows. Next, please. So this is my message. I found it just around the 8th of March when we celebrated the International Women's Day. So I think it's a good one. I like it. And what the message is that for us, putting others first, it's a beautiful thing. But there comes a time when you have to think about yourself. This isn't selfish. Self-care is one of life's fundamentals. Having the slight edge that say, you know what, I can't help this person because I need to help myself today. It's a sign of absolute strength. So the reason isn't so important is that the better condition we find ourselves in, the stronger we'll be to help others. So what's the question? What do you do to look after yourself? So I think this is my presentation. With this one, I think this is my last slide. Thank you very much. And I will pass to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, Aurelia, for this certainly very informative on the situation with women in civil engineering in particular. But it brings to our attention what is happening in the construction industry in general. So these figures are not limited to civil engineering, but we see this as a trend in engineering, in STEMs, and in the built environment disciplines in general, although the numbers vary. So what do we see? We see a smaller number of women joining universities to specialize in engineering disciplines. And what is more worrying is the even smaller numbers who graduate and continue to work in the industry. So we really need to support these students once they graduate to ensure that these skills and this knowledge and this talent is not lost, and that they are able to join the industry. They are motivated, encouraged, and supported in order to thrive in the field they have selected. If I may ask our panelists, Sumaya, Dr. Muna, Hiba, and Aurelia to open their cameras. I wanted us to start this discussion by sharing some experience. So if I can ask Muna and also Sumaya to come in and tell us about their experience, their personal experience, why they have selected this field, and how they have managed to succeed and thrive and continue despite, maybe they will also tell us the challenges that they have faced. So Muna, do you want to go first, please?
Right. Why I studied civil engineering? Because I think I had some uncles who are civil engineers, so I was interested to learn what they are doing, and particularly I could see the impact of modern buildings and infrastructure on human lives. So I decided to go and do civil engineering as well. And I think the reason behind my success is that I was very lucky because my family fully supported me to study civil engineering, even though people from outside the family were commenting that it's not for women, it's very difficult to study, it's very difficult to work on, but I just followed my passion. And I also consider myself very lucky to work for an employer like Jacobs, because we have a culture of inclusion and diversity where all the staff are included and they feel they belong. And this is a good environment for people to thrive their career. We also have support from the company through initiatives and employee networks to progress our career. And also they provide us with personal supports as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Muna. And Sumaya?
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this evening's discussion. I really, just growing up as a child in Saudi, we used to go to the mountains in Taif on weekends. My grandparents used to live there. And I was just very impressed with the environment that created. And then quite at a young age, at 13, the family moved to UK. And there the mountains in the city became buildings. And I felt really intrigued how that environment can make a person feel. And I just felt compelled really to be able to create and be part of that creativity to create the environment that we live in. So gender really I didn't think about it at the time. Saudi was there was a sense of progress in the country, the early 80s. And I felt, yes, by the time I finished my high school and study, I would be able to go into the profession. So again, my family supported me, and which I'm very grateful for in the decision to go into architecture. And it was really just to, I suppose the inspiration was to really be able to create our own environment around us.
And did you face any challenges during your study that maybe made you think twice, or?
Yes, actually, I got my A-levels at the time. I got the grades to go to university. I went to Bath University, and in the UK, and with a scholarship. And the second year, in the mid-80s, they were basically in Saudi were changing the regulations about studying architecture for women. And I was told at that point that if you want to continue, then you need to change your major to something that's more suitable, like interior design or something else, but not architecture. That wasn't in the list of things that were suitable for women at the time. And so, yes, I was at a point where, I really wanted to study, and luckily my family supported my decision to continue with architecture. And we found other means to fund my education. But yeah, it was very disappointing to know that it was something that I, from a young age, dreamt about becoming, could have been impacted by that. But I was very lucky that my family supported me and I continued my studies.
Yeah, so we can see that for both of you, there were some challenges, but the family support was really something that had a big impact. Hiba, if I may ask you, you work with Alpen, and your company is very focused on supporting women. What is the nature of bias against women? Where is it coming from? Is it something that is related to their capability? Is it related to the culture? Or is it really an issue of cost, that it is more expensive to employ women because of their need for, childcare, child support, maternity leave, and such issues?
Yeah, I think it comes from the old times, and it's all the factors summed together. So there are two main contributors or factors that are generating these kind of biases. And the first one is the community. And the second one is the construction field itself being a very tough industry, mentally and physically for women. So I think these two combined together will definitely generate that bias. But I think the industry, the construction industry, is slowly recovering or overcoming that the misconception in gender-specific construction roles, and especially in Alpen, we have that where there is no discrimination or any gender biases that you are assessed upon once you join the company.
Thanks for that, Hiba. Aurelia, I turn to you. And looking at a lot of research that has followed female student engineers and tried to identify the reasons why some of them, or let's say many of them, do not choose to join the industry and they exit. There is a perception that construction is a male-dominated industry, and this is one of the main issues. So from your perspective, how can we overcome that?
So I'm lucky I'm coming from so-called communist country, so I can explain a little bit more about the understanding of women being part of the society and working along the male counterparts. So in our university, when I joined, there were, out of 100 students, 60 of them, they were women and the rest were male. So we were absolutely no discrepancies of who can be a civil engineer or not. So I'm just saying that for that, the conception of working as a woman in the construction industry or in any other industry in a communist country, it was open for the person who who wants to do whatever they want to do. It was absolutely no stopping for anyone to join. So as I said, there were more women than guys in our university. When I moved to the UK, to be honest, I was shocked to see a very big difference between the number of girls who were, because I had to do my master's in the UK. I was the only woman who was doing the master's. And also I was pregnant at that time. So yeah, it is not easy for a woman to go to work in organizations which are, male dominated. I agree. To be honest, I will say that working along with men in the office, and I worked in 3 countries, it's great. They are very good. They are very hardworking. The places I work, if you know how to impose yourself, how to make yourself, instead of when you have to deal with issues, if you have a strong knowledge in engineering and you know how to support your statements, you will beat anyone. So I'm just saying that we should not be worried as, oh, this is a male dominated. No, if you know what you know, you can make it in, the male around you will support you and will respect you. So it's what it is, what is coming from the families. What we need to do, so I'm not going too much, into talking around that. What we need to do, we need to start to educate our boys and girls from home. It's our job. We are the first one to educate them, to guide them, to show them what they want to be. It's a good job for them. It will be a good career. So the most important part in the life of anyone is to do what you like. Don't be pushed by the family to become a doctor or an engineer or a florist or anything just because it's easier. Do what you like. You will get a lot of results, happiness. You will become like 100% a person which has the width of going wherever they want and to achieve what they want. So it starts with us. We need to change the way of educate and advise the young generation. Having my children, which are quite big, but around 30, the girls are dominating the scale of knowledge in school. They are the top in schools, and then soon they finish the school, they just go to have a family. So that is the moment when they need to be pushed. You take it nicely, but in the same time, you need to kind of, show them that there is a future for them, not stopping, not get the easy way, because if it's not something they like, it will be difficult. So that's my advice.
So, and this probably answers one of the questions we got. How do we encourage more girls or high school leavers to join the engineering discipline? Sumaya, you wanted to come in?
Yes, please. I just wanted to add, I think what is also important, and I think that's now happening naturally, is there's a culture change in the workplace. What Hiba was sharing about, that there is absolutely no discrimination. It's the companies that create this culture of teamwork, really, and it's regardless of gender. You're working with teams. It's not about competing with the other, with dominating or competing. It's really just about teamwork and getting the best out of your team. And I think that culture, I see it with the younger generation that's coming out of universities, both, men and women. There is definitely a trend towards that maybe mutual respect and team community feel. So I'm an optimist, and I think that this trend there is a trend towards that. But definitely, I think the workplace has a responsibility to create that culture, and and to encourage more, the diversity in the workplace.
And I have to say that, again, a lot of studies point to women's experience during their study, because this is their first contact really with the industry. This is where they get introduced to it. And part of that is the role models that women see. So Aurelia has shown a number of women. So these role models, really seeing other women having succeeded and progressed, is meant to be very helpful. So Mona, I turn to you then about this issue, and it's not really so much the role models, but as a woman in a senior position, do you see any difference if your role is practiced by a male? Is there a message you want to send to both from a personal perspective and a professional perspective?
No, I don't see much difference, because at the technical level, we are doing the same job, and we are working in teams together such that the work is done. So I don't see that much of a difference at a technical level. For a personal level, I think there are personal preferences even between females themselves. So it's not something to prevent women from progressing their career.
Yeah. I turn to you, Sumaya, then, about the role of women in leadership as role models. What can be done in this area?
In my experience, I think I've not really had female role models. I mean, apart from Zaha Hadid, it was really not very many. As I mentioned, there was in Saudi Arabia, they stopped allowing women to be educated in architecture from mid-80s till about early 2000s. So there's a whole 25 years of a generation that lost that opportunity. So I don't have any peers in Saudi or anybody who is a role model. In my journey, mentors and really have helped me through my career. I set up my business 12 years ago, and again, that's another layer of learning about, as you mentioned, as leadership. It's not just knowing the knowledge and the technical knowledge of the profession as a practicing architect or engineer. It's also leading a team and creating jobs for your staff, and all the responsibilities that goes with that. And yeah, so mentors that I've had have been men, but have really helped me along the way and have been encouraging. And I think you need somebody to, when you're a little bit lost, or you need somebody to turn to professionally who can help with that. So I think it's a really important role for us as experienced practitioners to be able to give that to the younger students or fresh graduates who've come out, or people who are in their career.
I have received a warning about time, but one last question for this panel that goes to Hiba. So we're speaking about encouraging more women, and we have seen the statistics of the small number of women who are represented in industry. Do you think it's a good idea to have a quota for companies in recruiting women? So should we say that companies must recruit at least 30 to 40% women?
Well, it depends on the context, but I think having a quota is something that would encourage anything that's against gender bias, just to have a policy there or a quota that says we need equality between men and women. But by the end of the day, and just to sum everything up, it's not equality that we're looking for. I think it's more of an equity or professional equity that we're looking for, to just take into consideration everything that a woman goes through and the man goes through, and tailoring this into policies and putting quotas in accordance to that. But it's not equality because we're not really comparing apples to apples here. Like women have different lifestyle and men have a different lifestyle. So it's not really about gender equality. It's more about professional equity in the industry.
So I have to take a couple of questions.
Can I say something on this one?
Yes, go
Doctor?
on.
So just a very quick one. They done that in the UK, imposing a percentage. And to be honest, it worked. The percentage you mentioned, it's a little bit high, depends on the department, depends on a lot of things. So we don't have to employ more women just because they are women. So we need to make sure the percentage, but to be honest, it's a good part to require a certain percentage of the company organization to have women or women in management. Because in general, we forget about the hardworking people in an organization, which without a doubt, they are the women. So we do a lot and we keep quiet. So it's good to be pushed. As Sumaya was saying, it's good to have a mentor. It's good to support each other. I think what I saw from my experience, there is not too much support between women. They are a little bit kind of,
Busy.
yes, yeah. So I think we should support a little bit more us, between us, and the percentage imposed to the organization, it's welcome, not the 40%, but it's good to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I will take only 2 questions. So one of them is from a student, and it's a worrying one, but we will leave it when we speak about smart construction because it's in that area. I have another one. Do you think that a woman in engineering or construction has to put double the effort to achieve what a man may achieve due to various factors like opportunity, society, etc., or the whole system in general? Muna, do you want to come in and answer that, please?
I think it depends on the policies that are there in your employer company. So if the policies are there to support the women, I don't think you need to do double what the male is doing, because they are already looking at you as an equivalent to him, and you are doing a similar role, and as such you are rewarded in the same way he is. But if the organization is not promoting gender equity or equality, then probably there will be a problem.
Yeah, okay. And one last question for this panel from an anonymous attendee. During career break for maternity, what can be done during this phase so that it won't show as a gap on your profile? This career break can last long, from 2 to 3 years. And how do we make sure when we decide to pursue employment, we won't be tagged as lagging behind in the industry? Sumaya, you want to come in and comment on this one?
Yes, there's an example actually. I had one of my employees was pregnant, went on maternity leave, and she came back as part-time, very, 2 half days, and then she increased them to 3 half days, and gradually she went back to full-time. So I think she really appreciated it. I valued her as an employee, and I didn't want to lose her. And she wanted, so it was really a win-win to be flexible and allow her to stay engaged with the profession. So I think but I think I have to say, not all mothers, it's a different situation for different mothers. Some mothers feel that they need to spend all the time with their kids. Some mothers feel like they need to want to get out and stay connected with the profession. So it really depends on the person. But I think, if that's one solution, others is to just really stay in touch with the profession and throughout, the post maternity.
I think also it depends on the company, because if you are working with an organization that supports you, then you will be okay, as the example that Sumaya has given. And also, if you apply to a company that understands that you might have been on maternity and therefore this is a reason for your gap, then this will not affect you negatively. Thank you so much for our first
Can I mention something very quickly? So
Yes.
she asked if it's going to take longer, like 2-3 years as a gap.
Yeah.
I had to stop twice in my career because of my children, and I didn't have the luck of an organization to wait for me to go back. Then I moved to two other different countries. What I would suggest, it's if you are going to miss, a longer time, just keep some kind of CPD, continuous professional development. Take part to webinars. Because when you go back, it will be very difficult. And when you can put in your CV, you mentioned there that I had a gap from this and this, but you need to mention, I done this training, I kept in touch with the membership, or anything to do with, so you show them that you done something while you are, waiting to go back into don't leave it too late. The things in engineering, it changes so quickly. So try to be aware, because even going back on an interview, you'll know the baby language. You forget about the technical language. So if you are keen in getting back into the market, keep up with the information, with the knowledge.
Absolutely.
And mention that in your CV.
Okay, so I think we have to move to the next panel. The time is upon us. We probably exceeded. So thank you so much for our first group of panelists for a valuable, informative, and very useful discussion. We still have a number of questions. We can try to answer them in the chat, but we really have to move to the next panel discussion. So thank you so much. Elaine, if you are able to take us back to the agenda. So yeah, we spoke about challenges, we spoke about opportunities and issues, and numbers of women in industry. Our next part of this webinar is about organizational initiatives to support and empower women. And we have a number of panelists with us. So I will still be moderating this session. But we start with a presentation from Camille Hubert, who is a strategic client engagement consultant with Alpen. As we said earlier, Alpen is specialized in issues of sustainability and bringing that into business practices, and Camille's focus is on managing key client relationships in the Middle East, Europe, and Africa. And she's also involved in the bidding processes and the tendering processes of her company. We also have Catherine Bruce, who is a senior sustainability consultant from WSP. Catherine actually spans two industries because her background is in chemical engineering, but she is working with sustainable development, and she specializes in strategic consulting across sustainable construction, energy management, health and well-being, net zero carbon, and smart city planning. And our final panelist is Theodore Henry, or Professor Ted Henry, who is a professor of environmental toxicology. He's also the deputy head of school of Aegis that we presented earlier. And Ted is leading a group that is looking after Athena Swan, and Athena Swan is an organization that classifies or awards or supports women who are working in academia. So Ted is in to tell us more about that. So if we can start with Camille's presentation, please.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Hagir. So first of all, I would like to thank you, Heriot-Watt, for inviting us to be part of this panel discussion today. It's been really great so far, and I would like to thank Aurelia also to remind us these kind of bad statistics. It's always a good way to remind ourselves that we're kind of, especially with the COVID crisis, kind of going backwards, unfortunately. But hopefully these discussions will help women going forward and getting more and more opportunities, especially in the construction industry. So as you mentioned, my name is Camille Hubert. I am part of the strategic and business development team at Alpine. I have been in the Middle East for now 4 to 5 years, and I will, in this presentation, give you more details about the different initiatives that we put in place at Alpine for the past 2 years, and basically sharing more with you about our diversity and inclusivity journey. Next slide, please. So just to give you a very quick introduction about Alpine, we are a sustainability consultancy firm. We provide niche consultancy services. I would say that our mission is to really push the boundaries of the sustainable development in the GCC region and to create healthier and safer communities. We've been in the GCC region for now more than 10 years, and we basically work with designers, architects, contractors, consulting firms, developers, and we help them navigate through their sustainability journey. Another particularity about Alpine is that we really like to build meaningful social impact initiatives. So I will focus today on the Alpine D&I initiative, but we also have Alpine Healthy, ILA, and we really put the employees' well-being at the center of our priorities. Next slide, please. So there is one thing that I would like to mention regarding diversity. We're very, very proud at Alpine to have a very diverse team. We have 42% of our people that are female consultants, and we are working with people from all over the world, people speaking 15 different languages. But we really know and we believe that diversity is not enough. I was reading this very great article from Clark, who was saying that diversity is not a one-way station. Diversity is a one-way station. It's not a destination. So indeed, there's a lot of companies when they reach diversity, they declare victory and they think that that's it. We have half of our people that are female, and this should be enough. We believe that inclusion is really what is at stake for women. And when we reached the 42%, we were like, that's great, but we need to go much, much further. And we know that basically inclusion is what is really unleashing the power of diversity. And this is how we get the best of our teams and we create a real competitive advantage at the end of the day. The real question is whether the people and the consultants feel really included and speak up, they share, they can discuss and challenge the status quo. So just to go through a few of our initiatives, once again, I want to mention that this is not like a manual or a presentation that will basically give you a lesson on how to create a D&I initiative. We are ourselves learning every day. I am, as I mentioned, part of the business development team. I am not an HR person, but when we started talking about D&I initiative, we really wanted to include all the different departments at Alpine and not only putting the responsibility on the HR people. And it has been a very interesting journey to actually include female and male as part of the discussion. And another point that is very important to mention is that we are a small company. we have around 40 to 50 people within Alpine, and the D&I initiatives should not be reserved to big companies. Everyone can work on making their workplace safer and more inclusive place for women. So in terms of the step that we took at Alpine to create our D&I initiative, we first created a task force. We saw that there was a clear need from women, and we actually started off as the initiative started off as a support system for women at Alpine. So we were meeting on a regular basis, and we would basically share the challenges that we face, especially that we have a lot of female consultants that are spending a lot of time on site. They had the feeling of not being heard, the feeling of not being respected. Many situations and it's the same in my case, we attend meeting with 20 men and we are the only women. So all these challenges were being shared, and this is when everything started, and we were like, we need to support our female consultants. We then created a task force of people that would be really engaged in the initiative. And we then managed, and this is something very important, we managed to get the leadership team on board and making sure that they would take action, they would communicate about what we were doing and really commit toward creating a more inclusive workplace. We also had a main goal as part of this initiative to create a supportive and flexible environment for everyone. So I want to emphasize the everyone here, because at the end, this fight for gender equality and inclusion is going to benefit everyone. So we started a lot of different initiatives. We became signatory of the UN Women Empowerment Principle. We started offering a lot of flexibility to all our employees, and this was really increased through COVID. We also recently got our WELL Health and Safety certification to make sure that our people would come back to the office in a safe way, and still keeping the option for women and men to work from home. And something that we also are very proud of, we started delivering some workshop within the company to fight gender bias. So we are working with an organization called Lean that basically promotes and helps companies to fight gender bias within their organization. So we will have our first workshop, I think, in the coming weeks. And I think this is extremely important for Alpine, is to bring the men as part of the conversation. Because if we knew that if we were just talking about this initiative and there would be no men involved, we would not go anywhere. So yeah, this is really important. We also, if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we also conducted a gap analysis. So when you talk about D&I initiative, it's extremely important to measure and make sure that you take a snapshot of the current state of affairs of the company and understand that, or understand and plan where your company wants to go. It's very easy, as I mentioned, to say we have 42% of our people that are female, but then what is the percentage of the people in the leadership position? There's a lot of different questions that comes into this gap analysis that was provided, by the way, from the UN Women Empowerment Principle, and that is available online. So it was very easy for us to go through this gap analysis and look at our existing policies, update them, create new policies, clearly communicate with the team about our intention and our goals as a company. We also last year updated our maternity leave policy, and we right now exceed the national norms. And finally, we really hope that going through. Of course, it's not it's a journey, but we hope that we are providing equal opportunities, and making sure that our women feel that they are in an environment where they can talk, their voices are heard, and that they feel that they belong to the organization, which is really, really important. Next slide, please. So just to conclude very, very briefly, I hope I didn't talk too much. A little bit.
Final remarks.
Final remarks, I promise.
Yes.
So I really think that we have a big responsibility as designers, consultants, contractors to build cities and buildings that I think represent who we are and what we all want. It shouldn't be only 50% of the population that basically take part of the decision process of making our cities, because currently this is what is happening, and we cannot let that happen. We have to build our cities, and we women have to be part of this very important decision-making process. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you very much for a very nice presentation, and also a very good example of initiatives that can be done by companies. If I can ask our panelists to open their microphone and their camera. Yes, so Catherine and Ted. And Ted, we have seen the example that Camille has presented of the initiatives that are happening in Alpen, and you are leading the process of the Athena Swan, which is another example of an initiative that is used to support women in academia, but particularly for the School of Built Environment, or Aegis. How effective do you think these initiatives are, and how do we measure their impact to ensure that they have been a success?
Okay, thank you very much, Hajir, for the question. And first, let me say it's a privilege to be here and to listen to the presentations that we've had so far. And I've been making notes here to take back into the group, because there's quite a lot of good examples and statements that have resonated with me as I've heard them. So one of the things that I think that is it's very important to have the things that you're working on within sort of the topic of gender and gender equity and opportunity to sort of permeate into everything that you're doing. So we do, as part of the Athena Swan project, we have some key things that we focus on. So what is the gender distribution at each level along the pipeline, if you will? So students coming into the program, graduating, postgraduate, and then within the academic trajectories there. But what we're finding is that it's a lot more than that. And in every decision that we're making, we're trying to at least start to have us learn that, hey, what is the gender implications of this? So an example of that is we have strategic advisory boards that inform on some of our programs, and insisting on a gender balance within those strategic advisory boards, and in various things like this, keep sort of asking those questions. As far as I understood your question to be sort of measuring the impact of those different things, part of the Athena Swan program at the outset is to assess where you are on the topic of gender. So assess the current situation, and then impose some actions that are intended to address those, and have those actions developed that are measurable, and then over time demonstrate that there's some changes in the gender actions that you're trying to address. So it's a very the ability to measure it is a very important part of the Athena Swan program, and something that sort of it demonstrates how the program is evolving over time. So it's absolutely something that we need to be able to do.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I turn to Catherine. So we have seen two examples, and we have seen that they work in a particular way in terms of improving the women representation and also the hours, the pay, a number of issues. Do you think initiatives are applicable across the industry, or do you think contracting, for example, is known to be a very tough environment, long hours, no weekends, project duration, or it is restricted by the project duration, which might be 3 years? Can we still apply these initiatives?
Sure. So yeah, thank you very much for having me this evening. It's great to be here and speak with you all. So in terms of how it applies to contractors and short-term projects, I'll give a little bit of a background of what WSP have been doing in the industry with regards to their gender equality initiatives. So we actually have a Middle East Gender Balance Steering Group, which meets on a quarterly basis to discuss these kind of items and identify, what are we doing internally and how can we encourage our clients and project team to incorporate some of those initiatives. So this feeds into a wider network called the Women Professional Services Network, which is part of the global WSP group. So as a company, we've really tried to align ourselves with our international offices, with our gender equality initiatives. So things like having maternity leave for new mothers, and we have 6 months maternity leave, which is definitely much higher than the norm in the region, and that can be spread over 12 months, so new mothers can really assist them to help them decide their pace of return to work. The challenges with the contractors, I mean, a classic example is when you go to site, you'll see a site office and there'll be no female toilets. It will be a male environment and there's just no female toilets there. So this is one of the initiatives, for example, that our team have been trying to get contractors to be aware that actually there will be females at site. You need to make sure that you have an equal workplace design that caters to the needs of all different individuals. And other things like unconscious bias training, for example, we've offered these kind of initiatives to our clients and partners to look at how they can integrate unconscious bias training as part of their leadership programs. And we regularly report on our gender balance initiatives. So we publish annual reports, and we've been very lucky to be awarded numerous gender diversity awards for that. But going back to your question, there is still a lot for us to do to bring on board our clients and partners on these sort of short-term projects to get them up to date. And I think by us showcasing ourselves as a very, very gender diverse company, that education and promotion of what we do can help the rest of the market, take note and realize that they actually need to address these things within their own companies. So we really use that approach of sort of try to lead the way in order for the other companies, but there is still that gap, and we ultimately have to follow. If it's in a contract, we have to follow what's in the contract if it's working hours, and we do have flexible hours internally, but if we have to follow the client's path if they don't offer that flexible hours at the moment.
So contractors still have some way to go, let's say, as opposed to consultants. I am conscious of time, but I want to ask one more question from Camille, which is Alpine is a global company with many offices around the world, and I understand that your initiative actually is applicable across the world, but do you see any differences or challenges for the Middle East, mainly because of the labor laws or the local culture or anything that can make it more difficult to apply these initiatives here?
So I think the challenges that women face, especially in the construction industry, they are the same kind of everywhere. So it's interesting that you're asking me this question, because recently Alpine was actually bought by a big engineering group called CETEC, which is a French company. And we actually were comparing the kind of challenges that, so they also have a women empowerment initiative, and they were facing exactly the same issues, and they were having the same sort of initiatives. So you see, they also have this kind of group discussions within universities. They are trying to support their female engineers. They're writing articles, interviewing their females as well. So I think the Middle East is probably trying also, I mean, the construction industry here in the Middle East is also trying to, make a change, like anywhere in the world. And I think, at the end of the day, companies, and especially contracting companies, they should really look to promote more women to leadership position, making sure that women, they reach the decision making process at the board level. We should also try to have more mentorship programs. Today, I was actually talking to a client from a contracting company, and I mentioned the webinar, and he was telling me, but Camille, this is really important, this is really interesting actually, and we never talk about this topic within the contracting company. So what about we set up a call next week and we talk about this topic, and we try to see if we could, for example, create like an internship program in the summer to bring these women, show them like what we do and how we work, and maybe it will help them, to make a decision, make up their mind, because I think in many situations the students, they don't know at this age, they don't know if they are interested with site work, with design work. So and I was like, this is very interesting, because I think these share, as Catherine was saying, sharing these moments, sharing these challenges over a phone call can make a big difference at the end of the day. And I think we need to close the gap, talk as much as possible with these project managers that are sitting on site and that are at the end probably very open-minded to make a change as well from their side.
It's very promising to hear
Yeah.
that they want to make a change. So one final comment from Ted, if I may. And so we spoke about the initiatives and everything. Can you say a few words about the drivers? Does the investment, because these come at a cost, not only financial, but also in terms of time and training and so on, does it pay off, and how does it pay off? What would you say to the industry?
So I mean, absolutely. I think it pays off, and there's lots of evidence for that. And I mean, in terms of promoting a system of fairness, but I think the things that are there are some clear economic drivers that is also which informs industry decisions, of course. But and I think that's where some of the the promising aspects of this are seen is seeing that evidence coming from that side. So yeah, and I think when we the area that we're working on within the university sector is across all of these different STEM disciplines, and we can see it in that way too when we think of the investment that's going into our students and into our academics and research programs, and seeing that the outputs that they're generating are equivalent in quality. And if for some reason we're not promoting them, or there's some bias, or there's some impediments to their progression, that investment that has gone into creating these very capable people who've delivered this equivalent high quality outputs, if there's some artificial impediment to their progression, that's lost investment into that resource. And I think that's one of the things that I see just in some of this outside aspects that we've actually investigated and found some evidence for as just another side.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So we have to bring this panel to a close, I'm afraid. I think we incorporated the questions within our discussion. So Karima, I hand over to you, but first I thank our panelists. I thank Camille for a wonderful presentation, very informative, and thank you, Ted and Catherine, for your contributions and examples on the initiatives to support women. Karima, over to you.
Thank you, Hajar. and thanks to all the panelists for the interesting and rich discussion so far. I know it's not easy to limit such a broad topic to the duration we have, but now we will move to the third part of our webinar, which is focused on the role of technology in construction industry in general, and more specifically, what opportunities does the integration of technology offer to women. So for this part, we will be joined again by Sumaya Dabbar and Dr. Mona from the first panel discussion. And I will be moderating the discussion. My name is Dr. Karima Hamani. I am Assistant Professor in Construction Management and also the Academic Lead for Knowledge Exchange with CESC. We will also be joined by two esteemed panelists. So we have Dr. Anas Batau, who is Director of CESC at Heriot-Watt University. So Anas is the Director of the Center of Excellence in Smart Construction. So in his role, he has been involved in many initiatives in order to lead the digital transformation in the AEC industry. He has the overall responsibility in the center to advance industry-led innovations by creating a platform that integrates government, industry, and academia. And his passion is actually in changing and creating a good environment to develop, manage, and operate smarter built environments. We will also be joined by Maria Di Savino. Maria is a licensed architect since 2000. She actually worked for many years in Milan. She was working as an architect and she was working on BIM as well in design. However, since 2015, she made a change or a shift to work in the field of construction. Maria has been a BIM manager for many large-scale and prestigious projects. And from July 2020, she is the BIM manager in the Middle East of Itinera. So welcome to our newly joining panelists. Thank you for joining us. Of course, as you all know, the construction industry is witnessing that change, maybe with a different pace than other industries, but we can see the change towards digital transformation and adoption of technologies. And one of the major signs of that change is the adoption of BIM, or building information modeling. So in order to see the role of BIM in industry, the benefits of BIM in general for the industry, and also the benefits for opening opportunities for women and enhancing career choices for women in the industry. Of course, we have our BIM experts here, Maria, who will give us a short presentation on this topic. So over to you, Maria.
Hi all. My name is Maria. Okay, I'm BIM manager for Itinera, and actually I'm working in Abu Dhabi. Now I'm following the project of Rimmol. That maybe if someone is in Abu Dhabi knows the project of Rimmol, that we are almost at the end. And I will try to explain what is BIM, how is evolving the field of construction thanks to this new process, so what you want. If you are coming from you are architect, engineer, for sure you know what is BIM, but there are a lot, I don't know if you can go to the next slide. there are a lot of misconception about BIM, because we think, okay, we can do the model in 3D, we can check the interface, the famous clash detection, but there are a lot of people is scared to implement BIM in the project, because I wrote some of the usual phrases: BIM expensive, BIM is too complex, is only of software, and so on. But you can next. But is not only this, because BIM is a process, not just a software. He covers the project from the conceptual design, so from the beginning until the end, for the design, the production of the documentation, to do analysis, to create all the pieces, to build each elements, but also to check the time, so the schedule of the construction on site, and also the cost, how some change can affect the project. And then you can manage also the logistic, and at the end also provide all the data for the operation and maintenance. Next, I will go quickly. I don't want to explain deeply because of shortage of time, but also because it's not possible in 10 minutes to explain all the aspects of BIM. So BIM, there is more need to use BIM in construction and design. As Karima told before, I was designer, so I learned to use BIM during when I was an architect. But then I found that there is, when I made this change and started working construction, I found that there is more need of BIM in construction, because in construction you have a proper project management of all the aspects to achieve build on full building, and the BIM is a good tool to collect all the aspects that to have a good performance of the construction. So because you can manage the people, the technology, the policy, process, these are all aspects that should be managed in a BIM process. Next. A good aspect also of BIM and the collaboration, because every project, especially on site, there are a lot of people involved in the project, the different stakeholders, different professions, so architectural, structural engineer, MEP, different MEP. If it's a complex project, there are different specialized profession, a lot of people that, thanks to the new way of collaboration through BIM, they can work on the same object, that is the BIM model, and there is no misunderstanding or different revision. It's just one way, the exchange of the information, and the BIM model is eccentric, because at the end the BIM model became a database where all the input come in the same place, and all the people involved can see what the other are doing, how you can interface with them, and so on. Next. So, okay, as I said, the BIM is a database, because from the 3D model, that is the core of the BIM, you can produce, of course, all the documentation, plan section, and all the drawings. But also, you can collect all the information about specification, details of the material, cost, the schedule of the start of each operation on site. Next. Okay, this is very long. These are the the main use that you can do with BIM. You can have for sure you will have the presentation. You can read in details what each use includes. Next. And okay, so BIM, the evolution of BIM is not a new thing, because he started in the 1990, And the evolution is going on. I mean, the BIM is not fixed. Every year there is something new. There is a new software, a new way to work in BIM. Is evolving every time. So the point of my presentation is this is a good opportunity because it is something new. At the beginning, I didn't say that for me as a woman, as a BIM manager, the challenge is not to be recognized on site as a woman because I'm the only one that is woman, all the other are men, but it's more hard to implement the BIM because of course in construction there are a lot of people, there is a lot of experience. Maybe they don't know how to use a computer because they are old, they have different experience, they have different experience on site, and there is a barrier, not because I'm a woman, because I want to use a new tool, and the people is not ready to change their way to things, to do in another way, to use another approach in construction. So this is a good opportunity because sometimes the people that is curious, that they want to try something new, are more they don't see that you are a woman, but that you know something new, that you can provide a new input in the project, a new way to work. So for this, my next. So for this, okay, this is always I forgot that this is the history of BIM, because also the BIM is there is an evolution of the BIM, but also a lot of countries now are starting to do the BIM mandatory. So for now there are few projects, big projects that are using BIM, but it became more often used because a lot of countries are putting as mandatory in the project the BIM. Next. So this is in this moment just few people, these few brave visionary knows how to manage the BIM, to do the full process from, especially in construction, from the beginning to manage all the aspects on site with BIM. So it's a good opportunity for all the women to be part of this change, because for sure there will be a change in the construction field, and we can take in this moment a good place in this change. Next, but is almost what I want to say. Next. Okay, and so okay, so what I said, I try to go quickly because I know that there is no time. So maybe if someone has some question for me, it's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria. I'm so sorry for actually rushing your presentation. I know that there is a lot of discussion and also explanation to be included there, but I hope to touch on those during the panel discussion. So I would like to ask Anas and Sumaya and Dr. Mona to just open their camera, and Eileen, please, if you can stop sharing. Okay, so
I'm not able to open my camera.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I
know
need
why.
to get permission.
I will ask
Because
Elaine
it's
to help
been,
with that.
yeah, the host has control of that. No worries. It's okay.
It's okay. So
now it's been granted.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, there you are. So I will start this discussion with some bad news, unfortunately. So there was a report that has been published yesterday, but by the World Economic Forum. And they have announced that actually the pandemic has impacted the targets of closing the gender gap. So it was supposed to be 99 years. Now it's in 135 years, just because it was found that women are the most impacted by the pandemic. when it comes to career growth and opportunities, etc. So then again, we are going backward instead of moving forward because of this. And this means that there is a lot of work to do during the recovery period from the pandemic. So I know that there are no maybe statistics in the region about the representation of women in the digital construction and, for example, only in BIM. So I just did a very simple attempt, and I did a search on LinkedIn to see how many women have BIM as their position or their skill. And I found out that it's less than 1% of the total, of the total people who have BIM as a skill. So my first question will be then to you, Sumaya. Do you think, like, differently from the reasons that we have discussed in the previous panels, do you think there are specific reasons for the that poor representation of women in the area of technology-based engineering and construction and architecture?
I'm not really aware that there should be a reason, only perhaps is that as part of, if the number of women is already low in the profession, then the percentage of ones that are being BIM managers may be reduced. But BIM is widely used in most architectural offices that I'm aware of, and we've been using it since we started, actually, since I set up the practice, as a tool, as a software. And what is interesting, what Maria was saying, I think this is probably an opportunity to really capitalize on this new change and transformation from into BIM and into the really going from a traditional construction process to a BIM process. It's an opportunity for women to really capitalize and move fast in that role in order to actually gain a foothold on that. I think it's, technology is now and part of everyday life. So it's in the young generation, I think, embrace it, effortlessly. So I don't really know the answer to your question, which is, why there aren't enough. But I think probably is because there are, the women are represented by a smaller percentage in the whole industry.
Yeah, so I think that could be the main reason, Sumaya. Sumaya, I know you need to leave, so thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you in this webinar. Looking forward to having you join.
Thank you very much.
Webinars. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for hosting me and really for Heriot-Watt to really bring this subject to light, because it's a really important subject to discuss and keep discussing. And really, my dream is to have to see an environment in the Gulf, particularly where we have really creating our own environment, our own cities, both young men and women. All the talent that we have is really being capitalized to do that, so that we are building our own cities. Yeah. Thank you.
We hope so. Thank you so much, Sumaya. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. So okay. So I think, as I mentioned, so we have that problem of representation. However, we all know, I think we have experienced a different setting of working conditions during the pandemic, and that was maybe facilitated by the technologies that we have available to us. So Mona, do you think, like, in your area, in geotechnical engineering or engineering in general, have you seen a positive impact of digital technologies on like providing more opportunities to women, or even closing the gender gap?
Probably in the industry, it's available in geotechnical engineering, but digital technology in terms of BIM, I have to be honest, I haven't used it myself. So probably I cannot comment on that, but I think that yes, there are opportunities because there is a skill shortage in the industry. And if the women can master these skills, then yes, they will be hired and retained because the industry is looking for these skills.
Yeah, yeah, I thank you for that, Mona. I think also geotechnical engineering is based on a lot of data, so I think that can be also a great opportunity for
so
women to explore.
we have our technological softwares that helps us in analyzing the data and in design and whatever, but BIM specifically, I haven't used it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thanks for that. So going to, I think, to Anas. So Anas, I think because of this issue of like lack of representation, of lack of interest, I would say maybe of women in BIM, let's say. So there were many initiatives that have started in parts of the world. So one of the most active ones is Women in BIM. I would love to get your opinion about the, do you think that these initiatives are good for the industry, or we will end up having like women in BIM, women in sustainability, women in maybe in digital twins, women in AI, and that will just fragment all the efforts that are being made? What's your opinion about that?
I think these groups have come together because there was a reason for them to be established, and that's why we find them being very popular as well. Unfortunately, they do need to have groups like that to promote women in certain things, as everyone has mentioned throughout the webinar today. That there is issues that we shouldn't neglect, and there's a lot of effort that needs to be done. I am very aware of the BIM, the women in BIM, but also there's many other groups such as women in sustainability and etc. But just to move away from BIM itself and just talk about technology in general, I've personally seen a lot of push from women and females towards that aspect within the industry. Throughout my experience with organizations, I've noticed that it's almost there's almost more female than it is in terms of males that's pushing towards technology for many reasons. One of them is obviously women and females are obviously they have these groups that allows them to do that. That's number one. Number two, it is a niche and it is a change. This change is required within the construction industry. And the more we move away from the traditional way of doing things, the more we attract the likes of females, the likes of young professionals and etc. to be part of this industry. So just how we have issues with attracting young professionals because everything is digital these days and everyone would like to work in a digital environment or technology in general. This lacks within the construction industry, and BIM was just a door opening for this, and hopefully we'll see it more when it comes to AI and etc. and robotics and etc. And then we see this being very popular within the young, but also female within the industry at the moment.
Okay, yeah. So do you think, Anas, that that's the only like digital transformation would be enough to close that gender gap, or there are other factors?
There's plenty of factors. The digital transformation, it's I think it's just, I was saying it in general, it's changing the industry, and therefore the industry is becoming better in the eyes of youth, but also women and others that weren't feeling comfortable so much, as everyone said today, to be part of the construction industry for many reasons. One of them is construction industry is known for hard hats and dirty boots. And now that's changing a little bit, and therefore we do see a change. But that's not the ultimate solutions. There's many other factors that needs to be captured in order for us to have a better environment for female within the construction industry.
Okay, thank you for that, Anas. Maria, I have two questions for you. One is from one of the attendees. I think it was a student before. And we just go back to that question. So I think her, yeah, so she said, for some reason, I cannot find it.
Can I just read it out?
I am a student working after I get my degree scares me. How can I build my confidence to work as a software architect?
Okay, you are lucky because you are a student. Now it's more easy for a student that want to know about this change. And there are a lot of things in the internet, so be curious. Try to learn, to be interested in all that is happening in the world. I mean, also BIM is not based in some countries, everywhere. It's something that is international, and the evolution is international. So you can attend every webinar. There are a lot of webinar, workshop, lesson online. I mean, now everybody is talking about smart working for COVID. In the BIM field, all these webinar lessons were already before COVID. So everything is online because we are digital, and so we can do everything online. So what I can say is be confident, be curious, be curious, try to learn as much as possible, because the confidence to be listened, to give some new things that the people doesn't know is good, that will be recognized on site, for example.
So thanks for that. I think it's a very good advice, Maria. The other question I have is related to the same report, by the way, that was published. So it was found that one of the main issues with advancing women entering the emerging professions, what we call new future jobs, or that are based on digital technologies, is the gap in job switching ability. So it's like women, they don't switch jobs easily. And I can see from your profile, Maria, that you had a switch from working in design to construction and working with a contractor. In my opinion, it's a big jump or a switch, actually, or a shift. So how would you describe that decision in your life, and what was the driver behind it?
I guess that is the same answer that I gave. I was curious. I was architect, so I know I knew what we should do, the designer, so the preliminary document for a building. My curiosity was to see what happened when the designer is finished, what happened after. I want to see how my drawings became a real building. And so I made this jump. Of course, for me, it was easy because I had my knowledge about BIM was something new. It was hard to find someone with experience in BIM as was required in the project, my first project in construction. So is also what I said, because I was curious already. I was a little bit nerd, so curious to know the new technology, this digital change that 15 years ago was really, really new and just for weird people. And it was my plus, the benefit for me to be stubborn, to learn something new, and was useful also to achieve in a better way this change.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's not a big, I don't see this as a big change, because it's just a development of my career.
Okay, That's great. So I think, yeah, so it's curiosity and maybe being a risk taker and exploring all the opportunities offered by technologies. I think it's the main advice we can give to new generations, I would say. So I can go, I think, on and on, but I know we have to stop here. Thank you so much for your participation to this discussion, and over to you, Hajar, for closing.
Well, I would like to thank all our attendees for participating in our webinar today and for their comments, questions, and contributions. But of course, a huge thank you goes to all our panelists for coming on board to have this valuable discussion. I am sure our students will benefit a lot from the key things we have seen today in terms of learning about the numbers and statistics of women representation in industry, about the experience and challenges that our panelists have met, mainly things related to the perception that the construction industry is a male-dominated industry. And I hope you have seen from our successful panelists that this is not necessarily true. As females have been successful for a very long time in this industry, there are loads of opportunities. You would have also noticed the diversity of career possibilities, including things like sustainability, dealing with the sustainable design, sustainable development goals, as well as the traditional roles in design and construction, as well as, of course, the emerging sector of digital construction and BIM and smart construction. So variety of opportunities, and also a lot of initiatives by academia as well as by companies and organizations, both to varying degrees, but contractors and consultants, to retain women as a valuable skill that contributes to the success of organizations. So thank you all for a wonderful discussion, and thanks to all our attendees, from myself, from Karima, from Anas and the team in SESC, and from Aegis overall. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very, very interesting night. Thank you.
Very good. Very
yes.
good, all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a rest of the evening. Very nice one. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hopefully we can continue our discussions in future webinars.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm here if it's anyone wants to get professionally qualified. I will support women.
Absolutely, I am sure, Aurelia. Thank you so much.
By the end of the year, we should have a good number of members. Yeah.
We will be counting.
Yeah,
okay.
sure. My plan should be realized. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye. Bye.